Should Chris Jericho return to WWE? What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and that is today's hot topic. Will Jericho go back to WWE? Now, we got to break this down because I got multiple reasons as to why I think Jericho should go back to WWE, and I'm going to break them all down in this video. But before I get to that, here's what we know so far. Jericho has not been on AEW television now for several months. He is scheduled to become a free agent at the end of the year. Apparently, a lot of people within AEW believe that there is a chance he will go to WWE. Additionally, Tony Khan was asked about Chris Jericho and his future in AEW during the media call for Death Before Dishonor, and Tony Khan had nothing but praise for Chris Jericho and thanked him for a lot that he did with AEW, and basically said that when the time comes, he wants to keep Chris Jericho around. But will Jericho stay with AEW? I honestly think Jericho will go back to WWE, but there is a little tiny piece of me that thinks he's gonna maybe surprise everybody and stay with AEW. I'm kind of 90% leaning towards him going to WWE and 10% him remaining in AEW. So as you can tell, very, very low expectations of him staying with AEW. But let's go ahead and dive into why Jericho should actually return back to WWE. BTW, Chris Jericho's last match in WWE was when he appeared at the Greatest Royal Rumble, but one of his last actual matches besides a Royal Rumble was in 2017 when he was in a triple threat with Kevin Owens and AJ Styles for the United States Championship on an edition of SmackDown. All that to say, it's been a very long time since Jericho has set foot in WWE and wrestled for the promotion that made him incredibly popular. Of course, that's the place where, I got to see Jericho become a big-time Jerichoholic. Of course, many of you guys know that Jericho has been my favorite for a very, very long time. So I'm very excited to see what Chris does next in his career. So when I first started this video, I wrote down 5 reasons why Jericho should go to WWE. However, as I kept going, it turned out to be 11 reasons. So I'm about to present those to you right now. 11 reasons. Let's go. Number 1 is the most obvious reason, is that unfortunately the AEW audience has turned on Chris Jericho. We have seen this happen before with somebody that you all know very well in Cody Rhodes, where towards the end the crowd really wasn't favoring Cody Rhodes as much as they used to, and we kind of saw the exact same thing play out with Chris Jericho. Unfortunately, while Jericho has done a lot of great work in AEW since its inception in 2019, unfortunately, the tail end of it with the learning tree has not gone over well with AEW fans. And I have to second this, man. I have not been a fan of the learning tree at all. And I was actually very surprised to see how long it lasted. So the most obvious reason being that the AEW fans are kind of done with Chris Jericho. Number 2, he's done pretty much everything he could possibly do in AEW. Of course, there's always people that he hasn't wrestled against. You could make a pretty good list of some names that you might like to see Chris Jericho in the ring with, but for the most part, he's done just about everything. He was the inaugural AEW World Champion, has been in massive feuds, especially with guys like MJF, has had multiple stables in the company, the Inner Circle, the Jericho Appreciation Society, the Learning Tree. When AEW commenced, he was one of the biggest, most recognizable faces for AEW to kind of appeal to some fans that saw that Jericho was on their television. So that was another real big thing that Jericho helped out AEW with, and many, many more things. On top of that, Tony Khan gives him a lot of credit, being like, he's the reason why I was able to get Ring of Honor. And so Jericho really did do so much for AEW, not just like on camera, but behind the scenes too. So that's why I'm saying it feels as if though the time has come, he can wrap a nice little bow around that AEW chapter and continue on to the next phase of Chris Jericho's very, very long career. We have seen him go to so many promotions. We have seen him go to WWE, come back, leave for some time being, go back to the company, leave for the time being. We have seen a lot of this happen because Jericho's been wrestling now for several years. So we've seen a lot of that. But that brings me to reason number 3. As I mentioned, mentioned, a lot of you guys know Chris Jericho from either his WCW days, maybe his WWE days. A lot of people more so the WWE days, right? But here's the thing though, there's a lot of people that are brand new WWE fans who don't really know Chris Jericho. And I know that's kind of baffling to hear, but think about it. Like, he's been gone since 2017, 2018, and we haven't seen him there. There are so many new WWE fans that maybe just know of the legend of Chris Jericho, but don't actually know Chris Jericho. Going back to WWE brings in a lot of new, fresh faces that are not familiar with Chris. A lot of the newer fans that have not gotten to see a real time Chris Jericho run in the company. Except us old people, the OGs here. We've seen it, been through it all, right? But again, there's new fans. Reason number 4, as part of this, like, Chris Jericho is a legend in the business. And he, no matter what, going back to WWE, would be a legend returning to the company. And you don't really have that many legends that are active like that anymore. You have a few, of course, but you don't really have that many. So WWE having a legend like Chris Jericho who is still active in the ring, that is another additional reason why I think Jericho should go back to the company. So reason number 5, this one's a little bit more blunt. Jericho, I am the biggest fan, but he is obviously getting a little bit older. He's in his 50s now, and he's just going to continue to get older. The WWE in-ring style and the AEW in-ring style is very different. Even though Jericho has been able to like hang in there and have some great matches in AEW, again, he's getting a little bit older, so he's not going to be the same Jericho that we have seen, throughout his entire career. And that's okay. That just happens. That's called life. That's called father time. It happens, especially when people are athletes and are constantly putting their body on the line. There's no shame in that whatsoever. But I do think that Jericho could work a much easier style of matches and just everything within WWE, because it's kind of a different bar of what you expect from matches and match caliber. So of course there is a difference between both of the in-ring styles, and I think that's another reason why Jericho should go back to WWE. Reason number 6 and reason number 7 kind of go hand in hand. Reason number 6 is that some of the stuff that failed in AEW might actually work in WWE. Not only is the in-ring style different with both companies, but also what you deem entertainment is sort of different with both promotions as well. And I think that WWE sometimes leans a little bit more to, you get some comedic stuff, you get a little bit more fun, lighthearted stuff. Whereas in AEW, you do see the fans prefer more of a serious type of programming. More serious feuds are the ones that kind of get over. I'm not saying they don't like comedy, and I'm not saying WWE doesn't do serious feuds. Of course not. But if you watch both products, you can kind of get an idea of how some things that maybe didn't work in AEW could actually translate very nice to WWE and in front of their audiences. So that's part of the reason for that. The other one, and this one goes in hand with number 6, reason number 7 is the things that did work in AEW with Chris Jericho and what he did there could also be used in WWE. So again, I do think that could translate well, where some of the things that Jericho did in AEW that maybe didn't work there could work in WWE. And the things that did work in AEW, he could bring to WWE, and it would be new and something different for that audience as well. Reason number 8, and this is one of the big ones, is that Chris Jericho, we all know, is a future Hall of Famer. He is bound to get inducted into that WWE Hall of Fame. And of course, he's still, young. He's in his mid-50s. You can still wait a little bit longer to get him that Hall of Fame career. But if they did want to give the man his flowers a lot sooner, even while he's still active, it can happen. It can most definitely happen. And of course, he's only going to get that Hall of Fame acknowledgement if he's with the company that is doing the Hall of Fame, which is, of course, WWE. So that's another big reason that I think Jericho should go back, so that he can get acknowledged for the lifelong work that he he has already done in the professional wrestling business. So I do want to see Jericho get rewarded like that because he deserves it. Like, even if he never goes back to WWE, that man deserves a Hall of Fame induction. Reason number 9, Chris Jericho, the king of reinvention. Jericho has managed to reinvent himself multiple times. And even though earlier I said fresh faces, he can come in and be the same old Jericho and it's still going to be new for a lot of people. But Jericho likes to play around and try new ideas and all of that. He might do that going back to WWE. You don't know what version of Jericho we might end up seeing if he does go back. So that's something that's kind of exciting within itself, whether you're a new Jericho fan or a lifelong Jericho fan. What if he does a stable in WWE? What would that look like? So little things like that is what I was kind of thinking of when I was thinking about like what Jericho would look like in WWE in the year 2025. Reason number 10, as we all know, WWE now owns Mexican Lucha Libre promotion AAA. And it's fun, it's lively, we know that. Like, getting to see what WWE has done, it's totally different, but it's fun. Now, many of you guys might know that Chris Jericho also wrestled in Mexico. However, he wrestled with CMLL, of course, the rival promotion to AAA. But regardless, Chris Jericho knows and is familiar with the lucha world. And having been in Mexico, I do think that Jericho, if he went to WWE, I can see him also taking part in doing stuff with AAA and kind of seeing what that would look like would be insane. And then he can be like, hey man, I also did this with AAA. Like, and when you look back at his career accolades and whatnot. So that's another reason that I think would be kind of cool to see Jericho sort of check off that bucket list. Reason number 11. And by the way, guys, this whole time I've been saying I have 11 reasons. I'm an idiot. Turns out I have 12. This whole time I literally wrote down 11 and I have 12. So bear with me. Reason number 11 is one that I think a lot of people are waiting for me to say from probably the very beginning, but I wanted to save it towards the end. And that is fresh new opponents. There are a lot of people that are now a thing in WWE that weren't when Jericho was around. And so he's got a lot of new people that he can work with. Some of the names that I was thinking of people that I thought would be cool to see Jericho work with, one of them, and I think the biggest one, believe it or not, is Dominic Mysterio. I think that would be so enjoyable. I would love to see that. Just the personalities. Oh, I think Jericho can bring out so much out of Dominic Mysterio. The other one is Chad Gable. Then LA Knight is another name that I was thinking about. Ooh, I'd love to see that mic work between LA Knight and Chris Jericho. And then the other name that I also had was Gunther and Carmelo Hayes. Those were some of the newer faces that I was thinking would be kind of fun to see Jericho mix it up in the ring with. Reason number 12. Yes, there's a reason number 12. I had mentioned him working with fresh new faces, right? But here's the thing. You can even go back and revisit old matches or old feuds that he's had with people because it has been so many years since we've seen any of that. That one, for the OG fans, it's nostalgia. And for the new fans, well, it's something new for them, right? And I was thinking of, resurfacing things with like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, doing something with Cody Rhodes, but in WWE with everything that both men have gone through and went through in AEW. That's something interesting. Even things like, I think he was only involved in a couple of matches, and I think they might have been tag matches, but like Jey Uso for another one. He didn't have like a feud with him, but there's just a lot that can be done with old faces, familiar faces, people that he kind of had something with but didn't. There's a lot that can be done there. And so there you have it. What was supposed to be 11 reasons that turned into 12 during this video is now why I think Jericho will and should go back to WWE. Now, before I close off the video, I do kind of feel like I would be like a little sad if he does leave AEW, but I think the time has come. So we'll see what ends up happening. Will he, make a surprise appearance at the Royal Rumble? Who knows? We will wait and see. Please let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, whether or not you think Jericho is going back. Do you want to see him go back to WWE? And what are some of the reasons you think should be added to this list that I might not have mentioned? Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you all very much. Last thing, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to watch more wrestling videos, I do post daily here. So make sure you're checking out the videos and subscribing. Bye, everyone.